chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Mick had a classic moment with the technology there. Don't worry, Mick. Nobody will notice.
I didn't notice. What did I do?
There you go.
What did he do?
He put us in before we put the intro on.
Oh, did I?
Oh, did he?
Yeah, anyway, move on because this is rubbish to the other listeners. So apologies. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our final match review for 4 weeks, whatever it's going to be between now and the Bristol City game on the 10th of December. We have a draw away at Luton Town to talk about. Good point in the end, but we'll go through the game, it's a divided opinion on whether it was a good performance or not. We will come through this in the next hour or whatever it's going to be. Mick is back with us. How are you doing, Mick?
I didn't realise I'd been away. I'm fine, thank you.
Back with us since the last episode. He's getting smart, isn't he? Less than 2 minutes in, he's already getting clever with comments.
I'm all good, mate. Thank you.
Brilliant. And Danny, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. I think I finally cooled down from yesterday's coach journey.
Yes, you had almost didn't make it to the game, Danny. They had some coach problems. Again, doesn't sound like we're promoting Kimmy Park thingy very well because you had another Morge coach problem, which is not normally an issue, is it?
I mean, all I'm going to say is that the 2 times I've brought my tea flask on the coach, we've had coach trouble. So I actually think it's me that's bad luck, or at least it's me tea flask. Because I brought it for Cardiff, didn't turn up. Brought it for Luton. We were probably sat in 40-degree heat on that bus because there was something up with the radiator. So the radiator heat was coming into the bus. A few other lads actually had the shirts off, including me, which to anybody on the coach, I'm sorry. So, yeah, when the vlog's out, you'll see what I mean. I'm not completely shirtless. I will admit there's only about my shoulder height available in the view. So, I apologise. But, yeah, we made it, and that's all that matters for me, anyway.
Yes, plenty to cover from yesterday, to be honest with you. We'll talk about something that happened. It was a great day, to be honest with you. I think most people went. It was an amazing atmosphere. And a few other bits and bobs, so we will talk about that in a bit more detail. First of all, we want to thank Athletic Green for continually supporting the show. They are the multivitamin experts who can help you take control of your basically needs, your extra vitamins and minerals that you can improve your lifestyle, improve your energy levels and all that kind of thing. Mick, I always come to you, so I'm going to come to you.
I knew you would.
Tell people why they should look up Athletic Green, and if it suits them, they should purchase it.
Because I take it and I'm still alive. What more could you want? I mean, it's just, there you go.
It's a strange endorsement.
Well, mate, listen, I am just, all my energy hasn't just sapped away and left me in a puddle on the floor. So, it's well worth trying, well worth it. Plenty of energy, it keeps you going, it gets you up in the morning. Good work, Athletic Green.
Thank you very much. To make it easy, Athletic Green are going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase with them. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/Rotherham, and that allows you to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Like I said, there's plenty to cover from yesterday. Mick, where would you like to start from yesterday's action?
Overall, I fall into the disappointed camp. I think I'm in a minority, and I felt we deserved to see that game out and take 3 points away. That was my view of the game. I've been disagreed with a few times today already about that, but in my view, I felt we deserved it. I felt we did enough to get the 3 points from the game, and I'm still disappointed now, 24 hours later, that we've only got the one. So, it's all about opinions, isn't it? But for me, I thought I'm gutted, to be honest.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Danny, I am. I was surprised. Obviously, we were at the games. When you see people, you see the game differently. When you're at the game, and watch it on telly. You can see things better there at the game, but sometimes you don't. You're maybe not as objective as you possibly can be. Where do you feel like it was 2 points in the end of the result?
I thought it was 2 points very cruelly dropped. I think. I think we did enough to see the game out. Like Mick says, I'm going to echo Matt Taylor and say the goal that we conceded was very, very cruel. Because I think it, at least from my point of view, it took like a double deflection and went in. So yeah, I thought we just about did enough to see the game out. I mean, yeah, ball retention is poor. I think we need to try and keep hold of the ball a little bit better. The referee, I don't know where he's got 7 yellow cards from us, which is an absolutely ridiculous number because Luton got 1 and we got 7, and there weren't even yellow card fouls. Anyway, we can bang on about officials until we're blue in the face, but for me, yeah, 2 points dropped, I think.
Yeah, no, I think I probably agree. Let's go through comments. We've got YouTube viewers with us: Paul Brock, Noel Jordan, Cheryl Stone, Damien Code with us, Steve Grundy, Graham Lind, a few more people as well. I'm sure I've missed you all out. But thank you all for being with us. Simon Thorne says, evening all. Wow, 4 points from the 3 games against top six appointments. We'll take that, and we deserve more, which I think is key. Roll on into December with a fully fit squad, confident and with a longer-haired Eves. We'll come on to Tom Eves in a minute because, again, it's somebody else who has divided opinion. Let's go back to somebody who didn't divide opinion, and that's Jimmy Lindsay, Mick. That was a stunning goal, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was poor clearance from them, but Jimmy he pounced on it and what a start. What a start to game. Yeah. I don't know what else to say, really. I mean, he's come back into the side. We said probably last season as well, he's more of a championship player than a League One player. And it kind of beggared belief a little bit, the fact that our previous management team didn't see fit to play him. Whether they felt they couldn't fit him into a midfield with Rathbone, Barlasser and Wiles, I don't know. But he's been an absolute revelation. Well, I'm going to say, he hasn't been a revelation since he came back in at all. He's done what I think the vast majority of us expected him to do. And that is just be an absolute excellent midfielder, you know. It just feels, I don't know, weird that he's not played the whole season. But he got a goal. He got the goal that he deserved. That his performances over the last few games have deserved, and like you said, took it really, really well. 55 seconds. Yeah, we're like, wow, this is going to be a good day.
Yeah. It was the away end, but mad, Danny. I know it's obviously should do, but it was a bit chaotic on 55 seconds in the away end, weren't it?
Yeah, it was definitely a case of on your marks, get set, go, and Luton just weren't on the marks at all. We'd more or less just settled and got a sense comfy after kick-off. And then
comfy in that stand.
Yeah, comfy might be a bit of a bigging up of that stand anyway. But yeah, we just sort of settled the sense down after kick-off and we've scored and there's just bodies everywhere. And I think we have got the quite unique claim that we have been in limbs in the away end with the Johanssons, which is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I've just had a look back at the goal now and great composure from Lindsay. Just to even have a go at the ball, because some players are just, try and take a touch if it comes to them that early in the game. But it's just gone, now I'm just going to try and get some clean contact on this, and he has, and he scored. But the build-up play, it completely defeats the whole stigma that we're a hoofball team, because the football is really, really nice in the build-up. And then Lindsay's goal's even nicer. Only downside is that we were biting our nails for 88 minutes and then conceded in the last minute. But still a point. Take it. I'm sure Jamie Lindsay will take his 15th career goal. I think I saw the
we'll check that for you. I think I've seen it's his 10th for us.
10th for us, and I think it's his 15th career, I think. Or is it 16th? No, I'll stick to 15. But yeah, great for Jamie Lindsay to be off the mark.
15th league goal.
15th league goal, right.
He's actually got 21 in total in all competitions.
15th league goal. fair play.
But yeah, not known for his goals. I think that's his. I think it's his first of the season. No, second of the season because the Reading keeper gave him one, didn't he? Went straight through him. Yeah. Andrew Brown says, "Evening, gents. Lindsay is in the team due to Albion push forward. Does he stay up there when Washington is fit?" Yes, Mick. To be honest with you, because that midfield three as it is now is working really well. And I know Wilesy maybe didn't have the impact he wanted yesterday. He still had a good game for me, Wilesy. He still impacted the game positively, maybe more positive than Chio when Chio was up front. That midfield four, because I do include Wilesy as in that four, it's working like an absolute dream.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to change it at the moment. I think Conor Washington's been unlucky in that he's got injured just as Chio's come back. And I suspect it might be a case of he might find himself on bench for a while. We'll have to see. We'll have to see where injuries sit at the end of the international break. But yeah, I think he might just be unlucky. I can't see Matt Taylor changing too much from the formation that we've got now. I suspect he might be looking now to add players that will fit into that formation come January, because it certainly seems to be working with the players that we've got, and that front one, if you like, if you don't count Ben Wiles in there, then that front one is interchangeable with any of the players that we've got, the strikers we've got on the cards at the moment. So I don't see Conor Washington getting back in at the moment as a starter, dependent on who we're playing as well, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Danny, how do you think the rest of the game went? We'll talk about the goal in detail a bit in a moment, but I feel it was a nothing game. We've got Shelley on here, so I thought it had the feels of the last game of the season and them sort of vibes. And I suppose it sort of did. There was a lack of energy from both teams. Neither team I thought we looked after the ball better than them, but that's not really their game. So that's just how it goes. Yeah, I sort of get that, really. It makes sense to me a little bit. And I understand why as well, because what break we're going into.
Yeah, yeah, it sort of had the feel of like a mid-table end-of-season clash where you're not really fighting for anything. You're just playing each other and just trying to win just for the sake of winning, but end up drawing. Yeah, I sort of agree with that. I thought it was a case of not really pushing ourselves too hard because you don't want to be injured and be out for the whole 4 or 5 weeks that we're on the training camp and having a break with the World Cup on. But at the same time, you still want to try and at least put in a strong performance, which I thought we did at times at least. As I've already mentioned, ball retention could be a little bit better. But we sort of like went into the game like, right, 1-0 up now. We can just knock it about and just make sure we look after ourselves at the back, which we did. Luton still had their occasional pop forward. Carlton Morris missed an absolute sitter in front of the away end. I think if he scores that, then it's a completely different game and we would have switched on a bit more. Dare I say we may have scored a little bit too early in the game where it's just like, we've been ahead for ages, we'll see it out, double deflection, and it's done us in. I think the main takeaway from it is our fans can be really loud when they really want to be, can't they? Good grief, it was deafening at times. But in terms of the football, just all right to me. Just all right to me.
Yeah. John Hensby says disagrees with us. He thought the ball retention was poor. We need to work on it. I don't necessarily think, Mick, our ball retention was that bad. My issue comes that when we did look after the ball for, let's say, 2 or 3 minutes, nothing then happened. There was nothing created from other than the first goal in the first minute. We never created any more chances from those few bits of time we then had the possession, which then gives, it's obviously going to breed confidence into Luton, because Luton was going to say, well, have it for a period because you're not going to hurt us. And that's my frustration is, yes, we need to, but I accept that. That's part of Matt Taylor's job, is to improve that ball retention. But when we did retain it, we then didn't use it properly.
I think there's 2 parts to it, really, and one, the point that John makes there is right, that we're not, the ball retention is not good enough for this level at the moment. But if you look back, if you were to go back over this international break and watch all the games since the Stoke City away game, and look at the progression that there has been throughout the team in terms of ball retention, then there is an improvement, or there feels to me to have been an improvement almost game on game. I mean, Stoke was just a joke. We just booted it out and waited for it to come back. It was like we might as well just kicked it against the wall. You know what I mean? But since that point, it to me it feels quite clear that they are working on that. And there were periods in the game yesterday and periods in the game against Sheffield United where we kept the ball really, really well for decent periods of time, but then slipped back into just getting rid. And you're right. I mean, there was one particular instance in the second half yesterday where we had the ball on the edge of the Luton box and probably had 3 or 4 openings and opportunities to get the ball into the box, but there was nobody there. So that is definitely something we need to be working on, because there were a couple of openings where we could have maybe even had a pop at goal or whatever, But I feel that there is an improvement in that area. And there has been a progression since the Stoke game, virtually every game. And now we've got 4 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it's going to be on the training field. I think when we come back, we'll probably see an even better and even more of a step up, if you like. It's clear to me that they are working on it, and it's been our issue the last twice we've been up here in the Championship. 2 or 3 times we've been up here. All we've done previously is lumped it up to Smithy and he's held it up, and then we've tried to keep hold of it. That's not the way we're playing at the moment, for the most part. But we also need to be in a position where we're going to be able to do something with it. We need to be positive with it, it's not just about ball retention, is it? Otherwise, you're going to be like Swansea and have 752 completed passes and 1 shot on goal. That's not football.
Not Rotherham either.
It's not Rotherham either. But if you're 2-0 up, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to get in that position. So it is improving, but there's a long, long way to go yet. But what I would also say is that the personnel within this squad are more than capable of taking it on board and running with it. More than capable.
Yeah, I agree. We'll come to the game in a bit more detail. Jamie in the comments says, are we not going to mention the elephant in the room, the hats that me and Danny are wearing? Now, yesterday, if anybody didn't see Danny, I think Danny put the picture on Facebook. We were lucky enough to meet Tobias, Theobion and Ricky, who are Victor's dad, uncle and family friend. We met them before the first game. I think when we met them last year when we talked about on the podcast. We saw them again yesterday and we got some hats. The New York Talk specific hats, which Mick refuses to wear. We'll put some pictures on our socials so people who are audio listening can see them as well. So thank you to those boys. Dad, Mick, I understand you fathered a new child. You're gonna adopt Victor's uncle, is my understanding.
I wouldn't where that was going. Yes, I've got a new child. I've got a new Swede coming to live with me. So my wife's very, very much looking forward to that.
Yeah. They brought us some nice stuff. They brought us some Swedish chocolate. Danny, you left yours, and I'm afraid it's been eaten. It was very nice. Very, very nice.
I wondered what had happened to that.
You just left it at a pub.
I
know.
Then
we just sitting there. And
I know. I got on the coach after the game and thought, I could just do a bit of that Swedish chocolate. Look at me bag. Oh, I've left it in the pub. I asked everybody, did you pick it up? And they're like, no, it's not with us. It's like, oh no, I've left it. So you can rest safely and know my mother has given me a rollicking for leaving Swedish chocolate at the pub because she could have just eaten that today. But that's what I'm like.
If I could pronounce the name of it, I would tell you what the name is. And then you could buy some more, but I can't.
Do you want to just have a moment away from the camera to rummage through your bin and find the wrapper of it?
I'll find out. They taught us a Swedish phrase. Would we all like to learn a Swedish phrase? Mick, would you like to have a go at this?
No, I can't remember it.
I've got it. I've got it
well
for you. Would you like to have a go? Danny, come on. We're gonna have a go together. We're gonna have as a group. We're going to learn a Swedish phrase. Okay?
Are you going to please put it in the group chat because I've forgotten what it is. I think it was that shot of Sambuca in my last ball.
So the phrase is Inja fara pataka.
Inja fara pataka.
There we go. Danny's nailed it. First attempt. Mick, do you want to have a go?
What?
Inya,
Farah,
Pataka.
attacker.
Yes. It means, and I like that, it's very Swedish. It says no danger on the roof. And it means no worries. It basically means it's not a problem. It's not on our roof. So if you want to impress your friends at work, Inya, Farah, Pataka.
Inya, Farah, Pataka.
There you go.
Don't do the other one.
Yeah, I've got Swedish swear word. Yeah, I'll put an explicit. Yeah. I'll set that for a sweary episode in future.
Yeah.
We'll save that one for Christmas.
Yeah, we will. But we stood with them in the away end as well, with those boys, and they were just they are brilliant. Anybody that did meet them yesterday were very pleasant. They give you time as well, didn't they? They give you time to do the quiz, the draw for the World Cup draw you've done, and took pitch and everything. They are brilliant lads, aren't they?
Danny's frozen again.
That brilliant that Danny's stunned silence.
Yeah.
Sorry, Wi-Fi got laggy again. I've chucked 50p at meter. It's fine. But yeah, thank you to Thorbjorn for doing the draw with me. That was fantastic of him, and thank you to Tobias for actually having a go on it. Trying to remember who we drew now.
He drew South Korea.
South Korea, that was it. Yeah, and of course, I'm the one who draws Denmark in front of the Swedish people. Yeah, of course. But yeah, thank you very much to them all. And Tobias, if you're watching, I'll be in touch about the thing.
Oh, we're all going to Sweden, mate. We're all going.
No. I mean a different thing.
All right.
There you are, Danny. Marabou,
the Swedish chocolate.
Paul Brock in the comments.
Either that or famous grouse. I can't. I'm not sure which it is, but both taste pretty brilliant.
Yeah, we agree. Again, this is well off topic, and if there's not interest for people, I am sorry, but we agreed to meet them at a pub in Luton, which wasn't open when they got there. So they just went to the shop and brought a litre of whiskey to sit outside the pub and drink it.
That's proper away day culture. That I love it.
It is. And everybody's watching Swedish football. They do football very similar to English, so that's why I think. Anything else you want to add on the brilliant Swedes, Mick?
No, come on, let's move on. Let's talk Luton Town FC. Shall we talk about the RUFC? Pardon?
Don't dig. Remember last time we played Luton? You said something and it upset one of their podcasts.
Oh, really?
I did. I got into real bother with him, didn't I?
Did I?
I'm going to retweet the RUFC's tweet about the 90-minute silence and lest we forget, which for me were an absolute quality tweet, because
I've not seen that. That's brilliant.
It was silent in that ground, apart from the away end. So good fun.
I suppose I am going to slightly defend them and say they've just had the almost the stomach ripped out of them this week, haven't they?
Yeah, don't. Let's not put any reality into this. Let's just keep it. Let's just keep that fishing rod out there.
If my Wi-Fi goes off again, it's because they've hacked my router and it's your fault, mate.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It was. Yeah, we already mentioned it. We'll keep mentioning it. It was a brilliant atmosphere. There were, I think, we sold out 1,000 tickets. Should we talk about the Georgie Kelly fans that came? Because they were amazing. There must have been like a group of lads, Georgie Kelly shirts, bald caps on. They were amazing, Danny, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. They'd got their own Georgie chant going as well, which was actually really, really good. So fair play, lads, on that one. It's just a shame Georgie wasn't playing, because I think if he was playing, he would have come over to the away end and said hello to him. But yeah, fair play, lads. It had a little bit of a stag do vibe to me, and they've all just gone, oh, I know, let's put three things together and go off and do it at Luton. But yeah, fair play, lads. I think if Georgie ever starts for Ireland or gets in the Ireland squad, that needs to be done again. Like, I don't care how much it costs for the travel, go and do it, because it'll be brilliant. And yeah, fair play to him for getting that organised, and fair play for taking a picture with young Ria as well, who also has the same birthday. So that was fun.
Yes. She also got one of Tobias's hats, didn't she, as well? Because it was
Yes.
a birthday.
She probably deserves an apology from me because I think I landed on her when we scored. Which, I apologise for that. So yeah.
She was still smiling by the end of the game, though. So.
She was, yeah.
Which is good. Paul Brock, Danny, what was the song? What was the Georgie Kelly's? Maybe it wasn't there. What is the Georgie Kelly song?
Oh, it was to the tune of
It's to a Gaga song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's to Paparazzi, isn't it?
Paparazzi. I can't.
I'm your biggest fan. I'll follow you until you love me, Georgie Kelly. That's the one.
Simple, but it was brilliant. Yeah, get that around New York in a month's time. That'd be amazing. Shelley IFC, that away end entrance though, that was the most bizarre. Yeah, anyone's not been to Luton, next time we play, I recommend you go just for the entrance. You'll never see anything like it. The entrance is between two houses, and as you go up the steps, you're looking into people's garden. We got barked at by a dog on way out.
Sorry, Matt, that was me.
Strange way, and old school in a way that I quite like, but
it's a bit Brentford-esque, isn't it?
Yeah,
old Brentford.
Yeah. It is. Anyway, move back into some players and individual performances. We've talked about Victor a lot. We've talked about Victor tonight already, his family, but make 2 or 3 cracking saves.
Yeah.
It's just one of those, with a goal, there's nothing he can do. It's just took a couple of deflections, but Victor again had a really good game.
Yeah, he did. He commands that area really, really well. He's brave. He comes out for the crosses, no issue. And you're right. I mean, he was so unlucky for the goal. He went in the general direction the ball was going. I don't think he'd have reached it because I think it was going to hit corner flag from first shot. Yeah. It was going. It did appear from our end that it was a bit of a snapshot, if you like. And I don't think he hit it. He hit it well, but the direction just wasn't, it wasn't going anywhere near goal, I don't think. And then obviously it took a couple of deflections and there's not a lot you could do about it. So, there's nothing he could do about it. Maybe we could have defended it better, defended the free kick a little bit better, but, there's no blame attached to Victor at all there. And he was outstanding again, as he always is. It's kind of almost, I dare I say, it's almost not worth talking about. You know what I mean? Because everybody's just going to say the same thing, not just us, but everybody else. Yeah, Victor pulled off some right saves because he always does. Maybe he shouldn't have to, I suppose, is the argument. But
they were from distance, though, weren't they?
They were, yeah, they were. So I guess what you would say is that from a Victor Johansson point of view, they were probably routine saves.
Yes. Agreed. Sam Darby says should be Sweden's number 1. Shelley RFC says quite surprised. His recent performances haven't got him a call up. We all are. We are all very well. Yes, we're all very surprised. Let's leave it at that.
It's not acceptable. Whatever. It's not acceptable.
The good thing for us is he gets to rest up. He's got a month now where he doesn't have to go to, I don't know, I can't remember who they play. Mexico, I think they're playing or something like that. They ain't gonna worry about that. Same way everybody else like Chio. They can just have a week's holiday, hopefully, and then get into some proper training. Almost a semi-pre-season, I imagine it'll be in Cyprus when the call comes up. Let's talk about the third goal. Their goal, Danny. Sorry, in a bit more detail. Now there's been complaints aimed at Tom Eaves for the foul that was given on the halfway line, which then led to the goal. He's become a bit of an easy one to have a go at, but this one just screams, I'm trying to find something to blame, and I can only find Tom Eaves. He pulled somebody back on the halfway line, which Brooke Norton-Cuffy tried to do but failed, and Tom Eaves finished the job. Got booking, which was probably the only fair booking of the entire game. But I don't get this Tom Eaves hate from people. I really don't understand it. It's becoming to a point where it's just people are having a go for the sake of having a go. He didn't do anything wrong yesterday, Tom Eaves. Yeah, he maybe didn't impact the game as much as he would want, but he didn't do a single thing wrong for me, and I'm not buying that that's anything to do with him, the goal.
No, I don't, because there's no way that you can have the perception that that free kick you're going to give away is going to lead to a double deflection that leads to a goal unless you're Professor Xavier. Like, that's the only reason you'd be able to foresee that. And if you look at the camera angle, Victor's got the original destination of the shot, shall we say, covered on that side of his goal. But it's the double deflection. If it is a double deflection, it might just be a single one. But let's just say the amount of times the ball is deflected, just put it in the other side of the goal, which is very, very cruel and unfortunate. But that's football. You know, it's a mix of football and physics, actually. But that's just the nature of football sometimes. But yeah, I'm not buying Tom Eaves' hate. There's no way he could have foreseen that. And like you've just said, if anything, it should be looking at Brook Norton-Cuffy because he tried and failed to pull the player back. So he should be, further back. So he should be trying to do his defensive duty a bit better. And like I said, Tom Eaves had just finished it. If Tom Eaves doesn't go for that, that could lead to an actual open play goal without a deflection that we haven't dealt with, for one example. But Tom Eaves has just gone, best thing to do is try and pull him back, stop play, slow it down. And
it's the right thing to do. It's absolutely the right thing to do.
In that situation, you want the free kick on the halfway line because you've basically got more room to defend, haven't you? If he does it on the edge of the penalty box, fair enough, right? But because it's towards the halfway line, it's further back, you've got that room to defend. And like I've already said, there's no way you can foresee a double deflection that leads to a goal. So, yeah, for me, it's not his mistake. It's just unfortunate. But sometimes people have to find an avenue of blame for something that's happened. But for me, it's that the ball's round and it's took that deflection. That's where the blame should be.
Time on Newcastle, people looking for a scapegoat, and Simon Thorne with a very good point. I don't think the club know what to do with him. You've got to feel sorry for him. He is giving everything on the pitch. But I think that's right, mate. It came on at the end. He came on for Wilesy and left you up top. That was a strange substitution itself. If Connor Washington was on the bench and was available because he's on the bench, he could have done 15 minutes. So Connor Washington would have been a much smarter substitution for me because you just get extra bursts of energy. Tom Eaves is obviously a bit of a target man. We didn't really need that, did we?
No, and I think that sort of fed into bringing Tom Eaves on, fed into the difficulties with ball retention because it allowed us that option to go long. And most of the time it stuck, but sometimes it didn't. That's the nature of the beast when you play that style of football. So that didn't help with the ball retention. It was a strange substitution, but I'm not buying all this Tom Eaves hate. I'm not buying it at all, and it's only a small minority of people. And they're entitled to that opinion. You know what I mean? That's fine. But in my view, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. He puts himself about. He works hard. He's not Harry Kane. He's not that type. He's just not. Because if he were to be playing in Premier League, he's so you get what you get from him, and it can be helpful, it can be useful, as it was against Sheffield United. Unfortunately, we weren't able to retain the ball well enough against Luton towards the back end of the game for him to have any effect on it, and we didn't put the ball in the box to give him the opportunity to get his head on it. So. There were a couple of, I think, the corner and a free kick towards the back end of the game when he's crying out to be put in the box, and the corner didn't beat the first man, and I don't think the free kick, did either.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So he's not getting the rub of the green in that sense, and I don't think some sections of our support are giving him have got any patience, and I don't really know why. I don't know why. I just whatever. It is what it is. And we all have players that we don't particularly have a lot of time for.
Yes, you do.
What are you saying?
I mean, let's put the world to rights. The people that Mac has very little time for usually have a whistle and run about the pitch like an headless chicken. So.
Which we were going to come on to in just a second. I just want to quickly mention Peter Kyoso, who was took another knock to the same ankle, came off at half time. That's a huge blow. The World Cup may have come at a good time for him. If it's only going to be a couple of week job, which we don't know at the moment, then from then onwards, he might be back for the Bristol City game. I hope it's not as serious as it was in the first place, because obviously that's going to be a fairly lengthy time off when he just started to get back into some minutes. That would be a big blow for him. Moving on.
Stephen, very happy, did he? He didn't look happy when he walked past. So you just worry that maybe it's a serious injury with it, or serious in terms of time out. Hopefully not, because he's been fantastic since he's come back into the team, and it'd be a big miss. A big miss.
Yeah, it would. Let us talk about Mr. Stephen Martin, the referee. Again, if anyone's watched the game, he had the tightest fitting referee shirt you will ever see, because that's the kind of guy he is. 7 yellow cards, Mick. Crazy. The only one of those I can remember being justified was the Tom Eaves one, because it was cynical. That's all it was. It was just cynical foul. There wasn't a bad tackle in the entire game, and including their 1 yellow card. You're talking 8 yellow cards in the game. It's just that type of ref. He's really nitpicky. Stops the game flowing. It won't give you any big decisions. He's over 50 yellow cards this season without 2 yellow cards, without obviously it becoming into a red card. Still hasn't given a penalty this season. Seems to doesn't like the big decisions, but more than happy to dish out the yellows, and it was poor without really influencing the game. Really, I think.
Yeah, I think when you mentioned the fact that he was going to be taking charge of this game, and I sort of put my head in my hands, and I couldn't really remember why from the whole game. And yet, yeah, I mean, 14 games the lads refereed this season, and 57 yellow cards in 14 games. No penalties, no reds.
2 straight reds, I think.
Okay, fine. So yeah, that clear. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. And Saturday particularly was very, very, very poor. I mean, it was just at one point, every single foul he gave a yellow card for. Yeah. And it just didn't make any sense. You quite rightly point out there was 1 yellow card challenge in that game, 1. And that was the trip from Tom Eaves, which, yeah, it was a cynical take one for the team challenge. Absolutely. Definitely a yellow. None of the others were even close. Not even close. I mean, the one from Dan Barlas that Dan Barlas got, I don't even think it was a foul. I'm pretty sure he got the ball. It was really, really poor. And if you're sat in PGMOL headquarters and you're looking at a referee that's had 14 games and given 57 yellow cards, surely that should be ringing some alarm bells and saying, why? And the other thing I would go on to say is he did referee the whole City game, and in the second half of that game there were 4 goals and 8 or 9 substitutions, and he played 3 minutes injury time. Yeah. On Saturday, I think there were 4 or 5 substitutions, no goals, 1 injury, and played 7 minutes injury time. Yeah. Consistency again, isn't it? It's just, anyway, whatever. It's just poor. It's just poor quality, and not good enough for this level.
Yeah, he's just not. He's kept the pre-season thing, other than the whole game. Dan, he's kept the pre-season of adding time on, trying to cut down time waste, which we are all a big fan of. To be honest with you, we've no issues with that. But he did. If he got the directive of letting the game flow, as proven by his record this season, it's just like it didn't. There was no big decisions, so it couldn't impact the game. But those decisions within themselves impact the game, and because we were trying to play a bit of football, that maybe impacted our flow a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I think when a referee finds the balance of letting the game flow but also being consistent, well, I'll eat me out. But it is finding like a little niche where you let the game flow but be consistent and give it for both teams. and there has to be only like one or two that actually do that, at least that I've seen on Sky. But yeah, with Steve Martin, he just has a very short first gear, doesn't he? Like, if it's a foul, he deems it as a yellow card, but he has an extremely long second gear where we'll give the second yellow card for the red card. And yeah, he should perfectly showed that for us. Like, every time he was whistle for a foul for us. I mean, Mick, you were going apoplectic about it, and we get the whole vibe from him when, like, yep, he's going to give you a yellow card. Yep, there it is. Like, he gave a yellow card on Tom Eaves for, like, I think it was Tom Eaves. It was trying to slow the game down in the corner. But then he gave a foul that, again, wasn't a foul because he just outmuscled his player and then booked him for it. And I thought, Mick, we're going to have some sort of aneurysm. It was just losing his mind about it. And it's like, yeah, that's justified because it was just silly. The amount of yellow cards that he's given, and like we said, what was it, like 57 in his 14 or something, which is astronomically high. That needs to be looked at on a spreadsheet and go, well, why is it that high? Why is it just him that's nearly dished out 60 yellow cards in 14 games? Like, but then he's not giving red cards or penalties. So it's like, what's he seeing?
It has to be, Danny. It has to be a lack of clarity in the training that they're given, because what they're doing with the training that these refs are given and the directives that they're given, they're not. It can't possibly be being made clear to them specifically what's being asked of them, because as with the rules of the game that they're interpreting themselves, they're having to interpret these directions that they're given themselves instead of giving clear direction, and they're just, but essentially, I don't mean this to sound the way it does, but essentially they're making it up as they go along. They've been given a piece of information. We're going to crack down on this. We're going to crack down on that. You need to take care of the other, and then they're just making their own interpretation of that, and as a consequence, his idea is that he's going to give everybody yellow cards. Another referee's idea is that he's going to not give anybody any fouls or whatever. You know what I mean? It has to be a lack of direction, a clear direction from the PGMOL. It has to be, because otherwise there would be more consistency. I'm not suggesting that there's going to be consistency across the board, but there would be more, and there isn't. So for me, this is a training issue, and if these sorts of things continue after they've been trained properly and with clarity, then it becomes a competency issue. But at the moment, it feels to me like they've been given an edict. This is what we're going to do, but no clear direction on it. So they're all making it up themselves for me.
The one bit of insight we've had, if you like, was, do you remember the video that the club put out on iFollow, where they had Bobby Madley and who was the other guy?
I can't remember. They were like his name. Local ref. I can't remember.
Yeah, it might have been. They came in about like it was something to do with respecting referees and stuff. But I'd like to see something along those lines, certainly in pre-season, about why referees interpret the rules the way they do. And another thing I'd like to see is the refereeing reports from games published, because Matt Taylor's already said that they don't get to see them. It's just kept in house. Why? Like, to me, that says they're scared of us seeing something and then making our own opinions up about it. Because it's not like MI5, the PGMOL. We should be allowed to see these things. They should be published like the match report. So then you get the journalist's point of view in the actual match report about what's happened during the game. And then you get the referee's point of view about why the decisions were made in that way. It might show they're making it up as they go along, like you say, Mick, or it might show a greater in-depth view of it, which actually says, you know what, fair enough. But the fact that we can't see them, it's a little bit weird for me. Like, we get to hear what rugby referees are actually saying during the sport. Why not football referees when effectively they're doing the same job, which is officiating a match? That's just my opinion of it anyway.
Go on, mate. Wrap this up now, but go on.
I think that's a step too far, Danny, at the moment. But I think those reports should be to be made public, but I think this certainly should be made available to football clubs, to managers. There should be more dialogue between the officiating arm and the clubs themselves, so everybody knows which page we're on, because it's perfectly clear at the moment that we're playing on two different playing fields.
Yeah, I agree. Paul with the comment says it's weird. He loves himself. I mean, he loves yellow cards, but not red cards or penalties. Yeah, he does. He does. He did and he does. He's a strange referee, but we've had him 3 times this season, so I'm sure we'll have him again.
Yeah.
3 times, we're not even halfway through. So a good chance we'll be getting him back very short. And to finish off, this break will hopefully come at a good time for the PGMOL as well, because they've got the same sort of thing. The top level referees won't be refereeing in this month. League 1, 2 will still. So hopefully this will be a good reset for them as well, because they started off the season quite well and it tailed off a little bit.
Well, I think Howard Webb takes over shortly, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think that's... Well, the MLS is finished now. So I think if he hasn't taken over already, it will be very, very shortly.
I think he's taking over in January, because I'm hoping to do a news belt thing about it at uni.
Everybody keep an eye on Danny.
If you want to keep an eye on it, it will be on Sheffield Live in either January or February time. So keep an eye out.
We'll have to get him on podcast. We'll have to get Howard on podcast so me and him can go at each other with it.
Yeah.
Do you want Matt to be the referee for that refereeing debacle, and I can walk past with the scorecards?
Yeah, we'll do that. I like it. Yeah. You mentioned Carlton Morris miss. It's good that he managed to get through a full game without fracturing Victor's eye socket. That was nice. Past 2 minutes. Yeah,
a real bonus that. Real bonus from our point of view. As somebody at some stage in the second half, somebody tried to take him out in mid-air, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
But yeah.
Let's talk about some more defensive performance. Danny, defensive 3. It was unchanged. We haven't mentioned it was the first unchanged lineup, possibly of the season. I'm not even sure the previous manager had it unchanged this season. But they were all solid again. Cam Humphreys had another really, really good game in the centre of that. Peltier was really good again, and so Wes. It's a good base to build from, and it was a good base to build from, wasn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be a back 3 that sort of complements each other. You know, they're all sort of good on the ball players, especially Humphreys with his distribution. Then you've got Humphreys and Peltier who are good in the air and very solid, and then you've got Wes who, you know, we've billed as more of a right back at times, but he can also be interchangeable in that back 3 and play on the left. And he is setting up quite a good partnership with Cohen Bramall. They almost seem to overlap at times and run that side of the pitch very well. Still struggles a little bit getting out of danger, does Wesley. It's a little bit nervous when he gets cornered. But yeah, the back 3 does complement each other quite well. I actually feel sorry for Woody, because I think Peltier is slightly better in terms of the ball distribution back 3 that we play, rather than the back 3 where Woody's got the 2 at the side of him and is the wrecking ball sort of player. So we might see Woody becoming a bit more of a Billy Sharp character, you know, where he's in the dressing room and then gets the occasional minutes out on the pitch as well. But I think for Woody, it's important to be stable in the dressing room and cheer the lads up and get them going, because he is our captain. And at the end of the day, he is our captain on and off the pitch, when he plays, that is, but also in the dressing room. But yeah, the back 3 is coming good, you know, and hopefully we see, at least after the World Cup, we see that bit of consistency within our back 3. Because I think it's the first, like you say, the first time the same back 3 has been used in consecutive games.
Yeah.
And a bit more defensive stability may be a possibility in cutting out the late goals in future, at least, anyway.
Yeah, hopefully. Mick, I was surprised we'd see not necessarily unchanged, but Woody, as Danny mentioned, that I think it was the right decision, and it turned out to be almost the right decision, other than the late goal. But we always expect that, right, well, it's Woody's not played midweek, Woody's going to start. I was surprised really not to see Woody straight back in.
I ummed and ahed about when I did my fan hub team whether to put Woody in, and I erred on the side of caution and put him in.
Yeah, but I did as well.
With hindsight, I'm not surprised he left him out. The three that played, probably for me, maybe controversially, are probably our best three centre halves. And I know I'm not trying to disrespect Richard Wood in any way, shape, or form, but I just think that Lee Peltier can do what Richard Wood does as effectively as Richard Wood, and I think he's just got that little bit more in terms of his distribution. But he's not a leader, he's not a captain, and that's the thing that he hasn't got. Having said that, I saw him on Saturday ripping into Wes for big style, to the point where even Wes had to go back. So he's not afraid to get in people's faces. But for me, in terms of overall ability as they stand at the moment, I think that's probably our best back three. And I'm not surprised Woody didn't come back. They played well on Tuesday night, and Woody's got a potential with his back strain and everything else, so an extra day's rest, we're never going to do him any harm. So yeah, I'm not surprised you didn't change it, but I think that is probably arguably our best back three.
Yeah, possibly. Shelley FC say it just may does Cam give us something different, a little more confident, especially as he's very good with the ball at his feet for a centre half. Yeah, it's a different option for a centre of the three, Danny, because we've always had Richard Wood, and Richard Wood is exceptional as a centre of back three. But in certain systems, when you play a back three, the centre of the three can be the one that carries the ball out. It gives you, it almost steps into midfield. Cam Humphreys has that ability to step into midfield, step out, and start an attack. So that's got to be something it's obviously something that Matt Taylor's got to think about.
Yeah, it is. I've just seen a comment saying Woody is better in the air. Yeah, I agree.
Probably, yeah.
And I think Woody is that option where if you really need to dig in and work hard, you bring Woody on to be that guy who just gets rid of the ball out of the area and then try and get it out, basically. Just get it out as far as possible as you can. But when you need to build attacks, like you've just said, Matt, a ball carrying centre half is perfect for that. Because he can push into midfield, distribute the ball out. If you can get the ball to Barlasser, then that's an attack down the wings, more or less guaranteed. And yeah, Cam Humphreys has that. He's very much a, to use the term a bit loosely, a modern centre-back. Yeah. You know, the more ball carrier on rather than just the big lad who just gets rid of it, like your old school defender. You can definitely see where the influence of like your Pep Guardiolas and your European footballs come into Cam Humphreys. And yeah, I think that's the bit extra that he offers. He's got that bit more continental experience that brings it into him. Still needs that experience dead next to him, I think, which is what we learned when we first signed him from one of the guys who knew Belgian football. Yeah, I just like how he operates as a footballer. It's just, like I say, it's just different and nice to see, especially at our football club, who are, you know, your stereotypical big man at the back, pump it forward, you know, just get rid of it.
Yeah, agreed. Jamie says, and this is a really good point, we never thought we'd see a back three without Woody. Just shows how well Matt Taylor's doing. I remember over the past 6 years, whenever Woody's not been in that team, there's been issues defensively, Mick. And it was almost every time Richard Wood wasn't playing. And I think we had a conversation on this podcast at some point where it was what we were going to do when Woody retires or when Woody's injured, because we were so reliant on him to be there. And we're not forgetting about him. This is not, you know, we're not saying this is the end of Richard Wood, obviously. Yeah. But it's really cool and important that there is a plan, essentially a plan B.
Yeah. And Lee Peltier is ours, isn't he? Grant Hall's the one that's on loan.
They're essentially both ours at the end of the season. Hall can't be recalled, so they're essentially both ours at the end of the season.
So yeah, we're fine without him. And we in terms of a regular starter in the team, you know, we need him in and about the club. We need him in and about the team. There's no question about that. But yeah, it's no longer an issue. We're very lucky to get Cam Humphreys. Very, very lucky. And he's another one of these players that we need to be enjoying while we've got him, like Dan Barlasser, because he will be a Premier League defender at some stage in his career. No question about it. He's got some developing to do, and he's a raw lad. But mate, honestly. There's a number of players within this team that will play at the top level at some stage in their careers, a number of them. And Cam Humphries is right up there for me. Really, really impressed.
Bang on. YouTube viewers said we could just put Woody up front.
Yeah.
The wrecking ball up there. Any other points you want to pick up from Luton game before we move on to a couple of other bits? Not many other bits, a couple.
Not really.
I have one thing. We don't really give praise out to the police, but can I just say the police that were in the ground, or at least near the pie shop, were absolutely sound. By the way, because that's where I did my pie review, which will be up probably tomorrow. And the coppers were very interested in what I were doing, and they were watching it, and they actually cheered when I gave out my rating as well. So the problem will never see this, but I just want to say thanks for being sound. And not your coppers that treats every away fan like a hooligan. They actually treated us like we were people, which is really nice to see. So fair play to them. I call out praise when there is praise to be given. So fair play.
I thought stewards were good as well. Certainly ones on the turnstile. They were laughing and joking with fans and that. Stewards can make that a really not difficult, but just they can make their job more difficult by being difficult. I thought the stewards were really, really good.
Yeah,
that I encountered anyway.
Well, I'm not buying that. The one that searched me, we didn't believe I was 15, so I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I told him I needed my dad with me while they were searching me, but he wasn't having it.
Right, so we've got a 4-week break now. Is it 4 weeks or 5 weeks?
Too long.
We've got several weeks break. 1, 2, 3, 4 week break. Back on the 10th of December. There's obviously bits and bobs to do in this period, Mick. From what we understand, they've got almost a week away as a holiday. Get some time away, spend some time with the family, blah, blah, blah. Then there is into a Cypriot break. And again, I've heard that from listening to some people that it could be up to 2 weeks or over a week they're away for, which is good, which is really, really good. And then they're back obviously preparing for the Bristol City game. There's a couple of things that need sorting out and some issues. And this is a perfect opportunity to properly start these contract negotiations for the players that are key. We need to make sure we're putting offers to players. Even if they're not going to sign, that's fine. But you need to give that. And there's been nothing from the club to say, yeah, we have offered them X, Y, and Z. They're thinking about it. And, we're waiting on a response from the player. And from where we are, that's where we should be. We should be waiting on the player to tell us what they're going to do with contract. I don't think we're at that stage, which is a worry for me.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the only thing I can suggest is maybe that had been put on ice because of the change of manager. And we want to have those discussions with Matt Taylor once he's had a time to look at the squad. What does he want? Who does he want to keep? Who is he happy to lose, if you like, for want of a better term? Who does he want rid of? There's no point going out and for the sake of argument, offering brand new contracts to Chio, Victor, Wilesy, and Dan Barlasser. Offering 3-year deals on stupid money, and then Matt Taylor come along, so I don't really want him. Don't fit in my plans, or he don't fit in my plans. So perhaps I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this is the case, that we've just been waiting and keep putting it on ice a little bit, give the manager time just to see what he wants, and then have that discussion as to, well, you might want him, but he's going anyway because we need the money or whatever. You know what I mean? Because that clearly that might be the case with 1, 2 or more players where the club decide that, right, we can get what we think they're worth for them at the moment, so we're gonna do that and move on and bring in someone else, which will have to happen at some stage. Ideally, it'll be happening when they've got 2 or 3 years left on the contract, not 6 months. But we're in that position that we're in, so we need to cash in on these players at some stage. Being mercenary as a club, we need to cash in. So it's not a process that I'd like to be involved with particularly, because I wouldn't want to see any of them going. But they've got to further their careers, and we've got to financially bring this club financially into sort of 21st century and allow us to invest in some more players to sell on for profit. So, but hopefully that's what's happened, and good break this for it.
There is a time element to this as well, because in January, if you're within 6 months of your contract's ending, you can talk to other clubs, not in England. You can't talk to other English clubs, but you could talk to Scottish clubs, Irish clubs, wherever. And the issue you've got Victor, who's obviously Swedish, who could be attracted from across Europe because his nationality is not English, so he's not just going to be focused by English. Dan Barlas, who we know got roots abroad, family, but his Turkish roots. That's always a concern. Chio's an international player who could be getting interest from everywhere. So that's another time-sensitive issue, Danny, is that because these players these aren't good League Two players, are they? You know what I mean? These are good Championship players that could be attracting interest from elsewhere. So it's all right. I agree with Mick to an extent. Cash in. But let's use Dan Barlow as an example. If a big team from abroad come up to him and say, "We'll sign a pre-contract agreement, you'll come to us in summer," we're left with nothing. Then we can't sell him in January because he's already agreed elsewhere. So there is a time-sensitive nature to it with a lot of these players.
Yeah, there is. And like you say, with Barlasser, he might move to a European country, a European team to further his chances of potentially getting into the Turkey side as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I think the only one that we're okay-ish is Wilesy, because he's got that year option in his contract. Chio, I can see moving to say a League One type team potentially.
Even Scotland, he could go Rangers or Celtic.
Yeah, he could go Rangers or Celtic as well. And then with Victor seems to be an interesting one for me, because he could very easily go and play in the top division in Sweden, very easily. But would he want to leave England? I suppose the reason he would want to leave England is his family is based in Sweden. So that could be a selling factor. I understand his. I think it's his girlfriend. I hope it is. With me saying this, it was also based in Sweden. So yeah, that's something for Victor to think about. Deep down, I don't want them to go. I want them to really get stuck in with it and go, right, you've had some time with the players. Who is it you want to offer new contracts to? And we'll speak to the players. But I know in football it's not as easy as that. There's a lot of hoops to jump through for me, and it could prove difficult. But I really, really hope we just crack on with it.
We'll see, and hopefully we'll get some answers from the club in the next month or so. Because, like I said, with some of these players, they could be talking to other clubs in January, and we could lose them without a fee, which would be a disaster, obviously. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes, and we'll keep an eye on what happens when it happens over the next month. Danny, we are going to have a quick loan update. We're going to, am I right in saying you've got some Kieran McGuckin and Curtis Rose, the two boys out on loan at the minute. They're both doing really well, aren't they? Scarborough, I think, are fourth in the National North.
Yeah. Kieran McGuckin's doing really well at Scarborough. I think he played 20 minutes in their latest game, should I say. And excuse me, my mate who knows Scarborough and watches their team and sometimes reports on them, says he is doing really well, and he is one of the best prospects in football that he's seen, certainly at National League North level. And so McGuckin's doing really, really well. And I think Curtis Rose has just scored his 7th goal of the season, which fair play to him. Fair play to him.
He's a league down, isn't he? Is he in the National League before?
He's at Gainsborough, so I think that is that the North Pitch in Premier League. It might be, or it might be the same. Anyway, whatever league it is, Curtis Rose is tearing it up by scoring 7 goals. So yeah, fair play to him. The only loan signing that's not really kicked on, if we like to use that turn of phrase, is KO'd at MK Dons. I've not really heard him uprooting any trees at MK. But MK are having an absolutely torrid season. So that could be the system. It could be the way they're playing. It could be a whole heap of factors with that one. But yeah, it's interesting. What do we do in January with our out on loans? Do we bring KO back for another upfront option? Do we send him somewhere else? Same with Curtis and Kieran. Do they come back and then step up again? Or do we leave them where they are and see how they crack on in those teams? That is the question. I'd like to see Kieran McGuckin step up into the National League or even League Two because he seems he could suit it already. And I think he's only 19, 20, something like that. So, yeah, that is the loan update that I have.
Yeah, obviously they can move to a National League club, but they can't move to the Football League till January, obviously, which is what Jake Hull found himself the wrong side of. So could be good. I said Andrew Todd asked us, Scott High doing nothing at the minute. Can we send him back and replace him? Don't think Taylor rates him. To be honest with you, I'm not sure on that one. I know with last time in the Championship, we struggled to get rid of George Hurst and Jamal Blackman. There was an issue with us releasing them back to their parent club. And then we couldn't get any replacements in, which was a massive factor in us going down because they didn't have a positive impact on the squad.
At least back into the wild.
Yeah, hopefully for Scott High's sake as well. He needs to play minutes. He's at an age he needs to start playing minutes. If he's not going to play here, he needs to go away and play. And we obviously need somebody who can be useful to the squad. If Matt Taylor don't fancy him, fine. But it needs sorting out one way or another. And I hope we're not tied in because that would be a poor bit of business if we are tied in. A really poor bit of business. But we'll see on that. Mick, anything you want to add on any of those topics?
No, not really. It's it's sad to see Josh Coyote not getting a game at McDonald's, but we don't know the reason behind that. He needed to get some game time.
He has been injured. I don't know how serious it's been. He has
usually, if it's that serious an injury, he would have come back to us for treatment. So I don't know. He went there to get some game time. If he's not getting it, we need to be recalling him, getting him somewhere that he is going to get the game time because he has got potential. There's no doubt about it, and we need some. But he needs to be playing games. So the other two lads are young, aren't they? And I'm sure they'll be back with us very soon.
Yes, hopefully so. I think we're done. Any other topics you want to cover that we haven't already covered?
I've got one. I owe £2 more into the don't mention the worn pot.
Oh yes, yeah. We need to be getting other people. We need to get other people on this as well, don't we?
We do.
Can I ask something very, very quickly before we put the plug in? Does it count if you mention his name in a group chat?
Yes,
technically, yes.
That I'm in.
If you put PW, I can accept that as not. But if you put the name, I'll call it a fine.
Right, okay, so Millie Click, you owe £5 for the group chat because you mentioned him incessantly to wind me up, so your name are now on the list owing a £5, so there you go. And the best thing is she's not watching this either. Yeah, name on the list, Matt. Next time you see her, tell her.
Mick, you put £2 in, didn't you?
I did, yeah, because he won't let me put £1 in. I did mention him twice, though, so you know. One more thing I would mention, if anybody who's listening has not got tickets to the Legends Night on the 2nd of December, there are 2 tickets available. So if you haven't got tickets and you are interested, please either give myself or Kev Johnson a shout on Twitter, and we'll make sure that you're first on the list.
But you probably have to sit with us, so we're going to make sure we like you.
Yeah. You need to be nice, otherwise I won't sell them.
Yeah. Right, we're going to end there before we find some other conversational points. We will be back on Thursday. We're still in discussion with ourselves about how we're going to exactly do it over the next few weeks with the World Cup. We are still going to do some World Cup episodes. We will be back on Thursday, and we'll just essentially do a World Cup preview. We'll talk about a bit about the England squad, talk about how rubbish it is at our World Cup in November and December, and all the other issues that have come with it, but then have a look at the footballing side of things, because at the end of the day, it is a World Cup, and we should be excited about it, because it's a festival of football. There'll be some great stories, some terrible moments, and everything else in between. My wall chart has officially gone up today, so I think that's the start of the World Cup beginning festivities. But yeah, Thursday evening, I'll dig out an England football shirt if I've got one, and we'll crack on that way. Go on, Mick. We're going to say something, Mick?
I won't say anything because I'm not interested.
No, Mick can't contain his excitement for World Cup. Genuinely, she's buzzing. Mick, Inyan, Farah, Pataka.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, thank you for being involved. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Dennis's Matchday vlog will be up, including the pie review. Pie review is worth a watch this week, I think. Especially from Luton as well. I think you'll appreciate the feedback. As I mentioned, back on Thursday. If you're audio Thursday evening, Friday morning for the audio podcast. If you haven't subscribed, please do it on the audio on YouTube, wherever you're finding us. Mick, you can't put your hat on, so I'm not going to say thank you, but
There you go.
There we go. Tobias will be happy. You do look a bit daft in that, to be honest. So
That looks ridiculous, man.
yeah, it does. But Danny, you wear it well, so thank you very much for being with us tonight.
I mean, I think I look like a B-Tech version of Captain Price wearing it like this, but yeah, you're welcome.
I don't think anybody
Yeah, I've got a look at Benny Hill about you, mate, looking like that, but that probably won't be out to you, but
Oh, I know Benny Hill, don't worry. I'm cultured.
Anyway, we'll be back Thursday evening on YouTube. Thank you all, and we'll up the Millers. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant. Mule with it. Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again. The magic man has come up with another trick. Well, here's a chance to seal it. It's done.